There's a saying in one of the non-canonical texts, according to the. Actually, I don't know who makes that determination. I guess according to the Catholics, but it's put forward that way by all kinds of Protestant sects also. So it's a good question. But anyway, the saying is, your thoughts are your own, but speech is God's. So, for instance, the people are, think of Moses, who was so, they say the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses because Moses was so reticent to go lead the people, or to go face Pharaoh and have that confrontation and say, set my people free and so on. But then the Lord is said to say, I'll put the words in your mouth at the right moment. So, but I think this is also true with, if you think things through, but then when you say them, you might discover something else is there. So let's go, this is kind of part 2 of the last video on the exhibiting in a kind of primitive way the idea of this equality. What's the problem with equality? And coming to the conclusion that it seems so that if equality is regarded as equality within a form, say mathematics, and then you would say only there's 2 people out of 20 million people that can understand this formula or so, and if it weren't for the fact of nuclear weapons and external demonstration of the power of a very, very limited small number of mathematical formulas, people would just say, as they used to say, this is just mystical German nonsense. They pretend to understand something that's so complicated only 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million people could understand it. And then the point being, it's actually true. So, and that's true in an infinite number of ways. And so that this is an objective knowledge, but it's one that would, if you say everyone's equal in mathematics, or everyone's equal in any form, poetry, for example, then you end up by saying only what the stupidest people count to be objectively the case is real. Everything else is imagination. And then therefore the people that are good at something know that. They know that what they're seeing is objective in that sense, that they can see it, although they're only 1 in 10 million people. It's no less real. And then they would say, we can't have this leveling down and equality. But I think there's a conflict between that and the there's somewhere I want to bring that into contact with this switching over of the idea of liberty from the Catholic version to the American version. So you get in the Deneen thesis. I'm not sure if I'm really doing his thesis justice, but my version is, he says liberalism failed because it succeeded, and what that means is it was a seed planted within Christian thinking that said freedom must be boundless, and the first form of that, freedom must be boundless, but since it was actually bounded by the pod, as it were, this seed was inside the soil in the pod of Christianity until it grew, the roots broke that pod and shattered it, which only happened probably around the time of, it could be dated possibly to say the time of that Potter Stewart utterance about in the Supreme Court concerning, I know it when I see it, concerning pornography about the French movie The Lovers that played in some Midwestern town, and then the Midwesterners who had different moral standards than the big cosmopolitans on the thalassocratic port cities who were willing to take it, but not the farming communities. And then there was a controversy over that. And then you see this sort of breaking point happening where eventually you get that Kennedy statement about something about freedom being the right to interpret one's existence for oneself. Anthony Kennedy, who in fact was got on the court as a conservative, but was then denounced as a sort of called swing justice, or the kind of Elvis gyration justice who would sometimes side with the Democrats or the quote-unquote liberals. So if you start from this point of saying there was only a specific point in time when the idea of liberalism actually ceased to be a powerful theory, but became a reality, and that we could see it unfolding in America, then you want to construct what was the original idea of liberty or freedom. What's the current idea of liberty or freedom? The original idea is something like freedom from viciousness or vice-riddenness identified with animality or with the wolfish nature of man. So, for example, that rape happens in nature, but that it would be considered better to level down, as it were, and make everyone equal in this way. So that's a proposal where you could say, maybe that's what I wanted to strike on. Some places where you say maybe this Nietzschean attack on equality is wrong. So if you have a case like that where you would then say maybe it is better for the people who are physically stronger, and therefore the equality harms them, which would be males by and large, although not only because it's not true that males are always stronger, because there's especially weightlifting women, and there's many de facto cases of women bodybuilders who are much stronger than the average man, for instance. But generally speaking, so that would be a case where the one who is superior and has the right to have pride in their strength as a natural factor, by renouncing it and by leveling down, by saying no, in Christ we're all equal. So Paul's famous saying about in Christ there's no male or female. Maybe this is where Max Shaler has a point when saying Nietzsche has thrown his hoop too far. Okay, so that's just another provocation in that same line of thinking as the last one.